Hey guys, welcome to another online math class. This video will be about collecting and using data. And by the end of this lesson, our goal is to know the difference between a population and a sample, be able to classify data as categorical or numerical, and also be able to decide if there is sampling bias. So let's just pause the video here and take a couple of minutes to write these down. Alright, so let's start off with what a population is. So the population is all the people, animals, or objects within a group that will be studied. And some examples might be all the students in Year 10, maybe even all the students in Daniel High School, or you could have a question that asks about all the kangaroos in a park. But populations are less often used in stats because it's usually hard to ask absolutely everyone. So we often use something called a sample, which is a selected group of the population. And sometimes information from a sample is used to describe a whole population, so selecting good samples is very important. Some examples of samples could be maybe selecting only 10 students in our class to find the average height in centimeters, or maybe selecting 20 people out in the yard at lunchtime to find out the favorite music genre in Dandenong High School. So the smaller samples represent the bigger group there. Alright, so that's what the difference between population and sample is. Let's have a look at our second goal for today, categorical and numerical data. So as the name suggests, categorical data is data that can be divided into groups or categories, whilst numerical data is data that is shown in numbers. These two can be further broken down into two smaller groups, and categorical can be divided into nominal or ordinal data. So you will have to tell me that it's categorical data and then tell me if it's nominal or ordinal. So nominal categorical data is data that is used to name or label, whereas ordinal data is categorical data that can be ordered. So I like to remember them using the starting parts of each word. So nominal, it's got N for name, whereas ordinal, it's ORD for order. So just keep that in mind. This is name and this is order. And just some examples. So nominal data is used to name or label. So it could be maybe your favorite soccer team, your favorite footy team, favorite color. There's no particular order to any of those. Whereas ordinal, you probably have maybe what is your favorite meal size at Macca's. You've got small, medium, and large. There's an order to this. It's going from smallest to largest. Or maybe in a survey you have strongly disagree to one side and strongly agree to the other. So there's an order for each of the selections in between. So between maybe 1 to 5. So you're just really looking for an order for ordinal, and if it's just naming or label, it's nominal there. Alright, now going a bit deeper into numerical data, we have something called discrete data and continuous data. So discrete is numerical data collected by counting, and they are whole numbers. Whereas numerical data can take any value, so that means it includes decimals, and it usually is collected by measuring. So one good example of discrete data is how many siblings do you have? It will be a whole number. You'll be counting how many brothers and sisters you have. You can't have 2.7 siblings. Whereas continuous data are usually measurements, so you will need a tool to calculate these. A good example could be how fast are the cars going on this street. You need a speedometer to calculate what speed they're going, and you might even get decimals. Or maybe what is the average height of the people in our class? You're going to need like a tape measure or ruler of some sort, and you probably will get decimals there as well. So that's the difference between discrete and continuous data. You might want to copy this chart down into your books. Alright, now moving on here, let's have a look at these types of data. Have a go at naming each of these types of data as either nominal, ordinal, discrete, continuous, and just unpause the video when you're ready to go through it with me. Alright, so for this first one, we know it's going to be categorical. It's either male or female, and those two are categories. And there's no particular order to person's sex or gender, so in this case it is going to be nominal there. So good work if you got nominal, categorical there. So you need both those words in your answer. Second one, coffee size. These are also groups or categories, so that one is categorical. In this case there is an order, so that will be ordinal. Number of brothers, this one will be discrete, numerical. You can't have a decimal number of brothers, and you'll be counting them as well. And hand span will be our last one, which is numerical, continuous. So give yourself a tick for each one you got correct there. Alright, let's have a go at some more questions here. It says, what type of data will the following survey questions generate? How many televisions do you have in your home? So for the first one, how many televisions do you have? We know that's going to be numerical to start off. Our answer is going to be a number. And you don't measure how many televisions you have, you count them. So in this case, it will be discrete. And now let's try question B. what type of music do you most like to listen? In this case, we know it's going to be categorical because each genre is a different category or a group. And there is no particular order to different genres, they're just names. So in this case, it will be nominal. All right, have a go at these next set of questions yourself and just unpause the video once you're ready to go through them with me. All right, this first one says, how tall are the students in year 10? So what type of data will that generate? So we know it's going to be numerical to start off. Our answer is going to be a number. Once you've got that, how tall are they? We're measuring, it's a measurement. You might get decimals, so it might be 180.6 centimeters. So in this case, it will be continuous. And let's try question B. What is your level of satisfaction, low, medium, high with a meal at a restaurant? We know that's going to be categorical because low, medium, or high, they're all categories. They're different groups there. They're not numbers. And once you've got that, this is going to be ordinal. There is an order to each group there. Low might be on the very left, high is on the very right. Either way, there is an order to those different selections. All right, so there are our first two goals done for today. Let's have a go at our next one. And this has a bit more to do with sampling. So the accuracy of a survey's findings can be affected by two things, which is sample size, which is the number of participants, or whether the sample is representative of the larger group, or if it's biased. And we're going to focus more on that second point today. So having a look at the definition of sampling bias, this is when the sample does not truly reflect the population because the sample was selected in a way that was unfair. So make sure you write that down and have that in your book because it will be very important. Alright, when trying to find out if there is a sampling bias, always ask these two questions. Are people who could influence the results of the survey being excluded? And are the people being included more likely to respond in a particular way? Alright, let's have a go at putting this into practice. So we want to find out the favorite sport of a city. So you ask people at an AFL match. And the question here is this sample biased or fair? If you thought biased, you would be correct in this case. This is because people that go to an AFL match are more likely to say they like AFL better. So people who are not at the match may prefer other sports. So this particular sample is not necessarily very reflective of the city as a whole. So hopefully you guys can start to see what sampling bias is. Let's try another one here. You're trying to find out how much time each day a person spends using a mobile phone. So you question people who are entering a mobile phone shop. Is this biased or fair? In this case, if you thought it was biased, you'll be correct once again. This is because people that go to mobile phone stores are more likely to use them more than people that don't. And there are also plenty of people that use mobile phones and don't go to these stores. So just a couple of things we could mention there. Let's have a go at another example here. Surveys carried out on the internet to determine Australia's favourite musical performer. Why would this sample not necessarily be representative of Australia's views? Alright, so this question tells us that it is biased and we've got to tell them why. For this question, I might mention stuff like not everyone has access to the internet survey, or maybe people that spend more time on the internet would like different musical performers. Just a couple of suggestions you might have in your answer. Alright, let's try another one. A survey is carried out in a library to determine typical study habits of Year 12 students. Why will this sample not necessarily be representative of all Year 12 students? Alright, so just pause the video here, have a go at answering this yourself, and just unpause it when you're ready to go through it with me. Alright, so for this question, I would say it's not representative of Year 12 students because firstly, not all Year 12 students use the library. Also, students that use the library may have different study habits to those that don't use it. So these are just a couple of example responses you might have for this question, and of course there are plenty of other reasons you could add there as well. Otherwise, that brings me to the end of this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys all back online.